So I finally got around to watching Goblin Slayer, and I have to say, as someone who really didn't watch a lot of it, I've seen clips and some shocking moment, a little bit of action here or there, but really the biggest reason I never jumped aboard season 1 or the movie was because really the discussion surrounding Goblin Slayer made it out to feel a lot more mediocre than it actually was. And what I mean is that all the discussion at face value, when this was initially popping off, there was one or two things I would see. Either A, it would be the shocking moments surrounding the females in this world and what would happen to them with goblins, or it would be just an action scene. And there really was no, I would say, intelligent discussion for like the big moments besides those points. So I really assume this was just, here's a dude who hates goblins, slicing up goblins, and a lot of shocking, grotesque moments. And because season 2 is around the corner, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go watch it. I'll cover every episode over on my Patreon, full live reactions over there, and we'll see what it's like. If I like it, I'll watch season 2. And pretty much right away, I really enjoyed it because it would honestly, in a weird way, the way some people, and I think the main loud voices talked about season 1, would be like the same people who talked about this first season of Attack on Titan just for, ooh, look at the big Titan smashing people, ignoring the characterization and world building that really is what makes a show like that pop out. Because what I got out of what I expected to get out of a show like this was actually a D&D style anime where the main character isn't indestructible, does suffer quite a few near-death experiences, is incredibly tactical, and similar to when you're playing a Baldur's Gate 3, the way you deal with these situations is so well written. And the fact that you actually have legitimate characterization and a reason for him to hate these goblins, there's so much more than just a few shocking moments or characters slicing people apart, and I absolutely enjoyed my time with this, and I'm dying to see where season 2 is going to take it from here. Now, like I said, I do have full live reactions to all these episodes in the movie over on my Patreon. If you would like to see that, I'm excited to watch more. I really enjoyed this. Honestly, I would consider this to be a great show. That's really my rating for the show right now, is it's great. Very well produced, consistent. The biggest shocker to me was Goblin Slayer himself, his character. So, a character just being like, I hate goblins, like that could grow old rather quickly. But they don't abuse that. There's quite a few funny moments where characters will be having a dead-ass conversation, and his response will be like, I don't give a shit, but if there's goblins, I'ma go kill some goblins, and it cracked me up almost every time. But you have a character who has this deep-rooted hatred for goblins. In this world, goblins are pretty much viewed as, why would you fight that? Like, if you're a beginner, just starting out your adventuring, that's who fights goblins. Like, goblins aren't, you go after the Demon Lord, you go after dragons, ogres, something that's worthy of someone being a silver rank, a gold rank, platinum, whatever you are, that's what people fight. Yet this man, high rank, only fights goblins, and he's considered a weirdo, an outcast, and why is that? Well, as he was a kid, he lost everything to goblins, saw his sister just be completely ripped apart, violated, and just, it tormented him, and he became the man we see here, who pretty much wears armor that people don't get why he wears that, why he doesn't have better armor, better equipment. He uses goblins' weapons and equipment all the time, but his entire mission is to kill goblins. He wants them to be rid because he understands that it's so easy for these disgusting creatures to pop up randomly and destroy an entire village, and because most people don't take them seriously, they're not going to have help before it's too late. And what I like about what they did here is that what you end up doing is you start off with this girl who ends up going with an adventure party, very bad leadership, pretty much the entire party gets wiped, and Goblin Slayer ends up saving her. And she was very much going to clearly be the key to starting the kind of the footsteps, the momentum going so that he would open up a bit. But over the course of it, we get a pretty decent sized cast of characters. We have an elf, we have a dwarf, we have a lizard man, and honestly, the cast was rather fun. There was these different butting head mentalities, and the idea of watching a character who was so isolated and alone. He had Cowgirl, of course, this kind of childhood friend acquaintance who very much was always flirtatious around him, always trying to care and love for him, but he was always someone who just every morning make sure the fence is still okay, check for footprints, but nothing ever happens. And the idea of watching him go from barely talking with her to then by the end of this season, right, the end of season 1, having the entire guild actually seemingly respect him, but most importantly feel like this moment of where he's more okay with taking his helmet off. He's more okay with showing these emotions. It's very subtle character development, and I'm not trying to say it's the greatest character development I've ever seen, but when you compare how a lot of people talked about this show when it first came out, and honestly what you might assume at face value with a description or synopsis, you actually had a pretty solid journey with Goblin Slayer as a character, and pretty much right away from the first couple of episodes, I was constantly saying, I was like, I see the character development, I see the progression of where we're taking, and watching a fun group of characters, whether it's simple moments where a dwarf and an elf try to outdrink one another and to see who passes out first, to having these wholesome moments by the fire where you're just like, you can tell this is so foreign to him, because for so long he shut off his heart, but slowly but surely, you're seeing an actual party be formed here, and it was very great to see. But the biggest shocker to me had to be the actual combat side, because someone who's just, I hate goblins, let's go slay them, you're just slicing and dicing. But this had a very similar charm. I would say this is like D&D meets Grimgar Fantasy and Ash. That anime deserved so much more in terms of seasons, movies, whatever, but it was a really good show for showing the realism of, even if it's a goblin, even if it's a small creature, that can kill you rather fast. And that's kind of the style that Goblin Slayer went for, where even though we have a very powerful warrior, sometimes he gets launched into the wall and he passes out because this big asshole throws him, gives him a concussion, he has to drink a potion, or hell, even the spellcasters in this world, like they have maybe 3 blessings that they can do in a fight. It's not like you're just like constantly fireball this, fireball that. He uses a scroll at one point in this season where basically he uses water in order to just absolutely blast fools. It's very hard to come by those, and he never gets another one in the first season. Like, the fact that everything about this feels like it's a world that's actually real, actually has threats and stakes, and while yes, he always has money to repair his equipment, it's never like he saves his money. It's all about just going after goblins because of this deep-rooted hatred, and there's moments that make you just say, oh my god, did he really just do that? He discovers goblin kids, they haven't done anything yet, and he just murders them. But then 4 episodes later, you realize that all goblins grow up to do these heinous, horrible acts. And I love the fact that it's not just a matter of, okay, he's stronger. He's just gonna run behind, stab it. At one point, we're fighting this eye with like multiple eyes kind of all looking out. He uses flour to basically throw it all in the air, and then it just becomes a big ass explosion. It's just like the preparation and the way they go about things is so cool. And it's also nice that it's not just necessarily about seeing things from Goblin Slayer's perspective. There's this one kid who ends up like losing his sword, and he doesn't have the money to like get the sword back, and ultimately he ends up having to go get it. And it's the whole time I'm thinking this dude's gonna die, they don't have the skill set, but watching him recover it after a monster eats it was honestly a really fun little mini adventure. And the idea of building into the final hurrah of the season, which was basically, there is a horde coming. There is a king of the goblins coming. And honestly, man, seeing everyone rise to the occasion, a mixture of, because the one woman who really likes Goblin Slayer saying for every goblin you kill, you get a gold coin, but also a mixture of him formally requesting, we get this really interesting battle where he gets to put all of his skills and tactics to the test. He knows exactly what's going to happen. The goblins are going to use females as basically they're going to be on basically wooden planks in order to screw with the humans. Everything about it went according to plan. And to see the final fight with him, he takes such a mad beating, and to see our girl come in and just launch the final blow, it felt like, you know, we built up to this. We actually saw how much everyone pushed back against Goblin Slayer, but by the end, it's hard not to say, god damn it, not only was he right, but maybe killing all those goblins, you know, at the end of the day, even if they're not going to go out of their way to kill goblins nonstop, they do appreciate the skill set he does have by the end. And that's what's really cool about this show, is there is shocking moments. There's moments that make me uncomfortable, where I say, what the actual, like, what are we seeing with these disgusting creatures? But at the same time, it's not like they drop those every other scene. If they did that, then yeah, it would feel edgy and over the top. But this just makes it feel like a brutal world with some disgusting creatures, and you understand why someone could break so much to the point of just making his life mission the extermination. And we had a fun supporting cast. We had a great production. We had some killer music. And overall, I would honestly say Goblin Slayer Season 2 is now one of my most anticipated anime of this upcoming Fall 23 anime season. And this went from something I was like, yeah, maybe I'll give it a watch, to actually, this is a pretty fantastic world. D&D meets Grimgar in terms of anime, honestly, I'm here for more. Like, this won't be for everyone, and there's definitely some shocking moments that will probably turn a lot of people off, and that's perfectly fine if people don't enjoy watching anything like that. But I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised, and I leave both Season 1 and the movie saying it was pretty damn great, but let me know what you thought of Goblin Slayer up to this point, how excited are you for Season 2, and like I mentioned, we got full live reactions to all this over on my Patreon if you're interested in seeing that. So, until next time, and we'll catch you in Season 2 of that Goblin Slayer greatness in just a week or so, give or take, depending on when I upload this. I don't know, but take care, have a good one.